Je vous demande d'applaudir très chaleureusement Sofia Coppola. Sofia, bonjour. On pourrait croire à première vue que Somewhere a été fait en quelque sorte en réaction à Marie-Antoinette.
Yes, making this film was definitely a reaction to after I made Marie Antoinette. After all the decoration and all the people involved in Marie Antoinette, I wanted to make a movie as simply as possible and with as few people as possible and very minimal. So I set out when I was writing it to make a very minimal, simple story with the music is stark and everything about it. And also with Marie Antoinette, it was so much my feminine side and so girly that I wanted to write this story from a man's point of view. After I make the films, I see there's a link in the themes and certain aspects, but when I'm starting to write it, I'm not aware of that. I just write about whatever seems interesting to me, and then afterwards I can see that there's a link, but I don't intentionally do that. And I try to be intuitive when I'm writing and when I'm making the movie and not to think too much about it.
Quel a été le tout premier point de départ du film? Est-ce le Château Marmont? Est-ce ce personnage d'acteur hollywoodien un peu perdu? Ou est-ce le personnage de la jeune adolescente qui, mine de rien, va faire basculer la vie de son père?
The story began with the character of Johnny Marco, played by Stephen Dorff. I was actually writing something else and had an idea of this character, and then I got so interested in this character that I thought just to do a portrait of him. And then I thought, of course, he would live in the Château Marmont. And then the idea of the daughter came into the story. It was after I had my own daughter, and I was thinking about how becoming a parent changes your perspective and how it impacts you, and I wanted to put that in the story too.
Auquel de ces deux personnages vous vous identifiez le plus?
Which one do I
Yes.
have? I have seen myself in both characters. There's a side of me that I relate to the Johnny Marco guy, and then there's a side of myself that I can relate to the young girl. The first part about the young girl, she was based on my friend's daughter, who I saw her parents were in show business, and of course I could relate to her because I remember being around some of that when I was that age. But so I started with her, and then I tried to put my own memories, although my parents and my childhood were very different than in the film. And Johnny Marco, I don't think I was in danger of heading that way, but I was thinking about in American pop culture, at least, there's such an obsession with becoming famous, and I feel there's a whole generation of kids that think, oh, I'll just become famous for doing nothing because they see that on reality shows, and wanted to, look at another side of that.
Le film évolue de manière très intuitive et très impressionniste. Il n'y a pas de rebondissement, il n'y a pas de véritable intrigue. Est-ce que c'était ça le plus difficile à réussir à l'écriture du scénario?
Yeah, I like making stories or kind of building an atmosphere from little moments and details, and not having to have a big dramatic plot. I don't even know if I would know how to do that if I tried. So I guess I just write the way that I know how to, or it makes sense to me, and it's just kind of collecting little moments and ideas, almost like a collage. Or I like to make photo books with reference photos, like a mood book when I'm writing the script. And I feel like I approach the screenplay the same way. I just put together moments and ideas, and then hopefully at the end it's enough for a movie.
Au moment du tournage, justement, la force du film et le charme et l'impression qu'il laisse, elle tient beaucoup à ces moments de vie presque saisis sur le vif. Comment on réussit ça?
I don't know. I think it's a combination. I wanted this film to feel very naturalistic, and so I guess I work in an intuitive way and try to keep it pretty loose so you can just feel what feels natural when you're in the situation. The scenes where the characters are hanging out and playing video games and Guitar Hero, those are more improvised. In the script I just wrote that they played Guitar Hero, and so that kind of stuff is improvised. But then the scenes between them in the car, and when there's kind of needs to be a point to the scene, then it's it's following the script. I don't shoot a ton of extra footage except for when we're improvising. Then we just let the camera go and see what happens. And the guy who plays the friend, he's one of the guys from Jackass, and I knew that he was good at improvising and telling funny stories, so I would make him wait till we were filming to tell stories to the little girl because it was fun to watch her real reaction and things like that. It's fun to do to get some real reactions.
Qu'est-ce qui vous a fait penser que Stephen Dorff était l'acteur idéal pour incarner Johnny Marco?
I knew Stephen through friends. I've known him. I hadn't seen him in many years, but I knew him when I was younger. And he came to mind when I was thinking about this story, I think mostly because I've always thought he was a great actor and maybe underused. But also he's a really sweet guy. He has a lot of heart and he's really genuine. And I thought that would come through because the character isn't that likable. He's very flawed. And I thought you had to have someone that was really sweet to care about watching him for an hour and a half.
Le film est filmé de manière très réaliste et en même temps il s'ouvre et il se termine par deux séquences presque d'ordre symbolique. La première, c'est les tours de circuit de voiture à l'image de cet acteur qui tourne en rond, et la dernière, c'est cet homme qui est face à l'horizon affrontant son destin. Qu'est-ce qui vous a fait choisir ça?
Well, I think with film, you try to tell the story through visuals and visual metaphors. And so when I was starting the script, my first idea was him in his Ferrari going around in circles, which, of course, I thought you try to introduce the character in a simple way that you understand their state and who that guy is. And then as I was writing the script, I didn't know how I was going to end it. And I was really stressed about I don't know how to end this movie. And I was talking to a friend, and he said, well, go back and look at the beginning because that might help you figure out the end. So I thought about that and realized that the car was important to his story. And that's how I came to figure out the ending. I knew I wanted the ending to be the beginning for him, but I didn't know exactly how to describe it. And that thinking about the car.
Je voulais savoir comment vous travaillez pour choisir les chansons et spécifiquement sur ce film.
I listen to music when I'm writing the script, and a lot of times some of those songs end up in the movie, and it helps me to make the atmosphere. And in this movie, I didn't want to have tons of pop songs every 5 minutes. So many movies are just nonstop songs. I wanted to try to use as little music as possible, but then it really has an impact when you do use it. And so I asked Phoenix to write some score music that's kind of atmospheric and minimal. When he's alone, it's used. And then when you hear songs, they're usually source music. They're actually playing in the scene, and I try to pick songs that the characters would really be listening to. Like when the little girl's ice skating, it's a Gwen Stefani song because I felt, that a 12-year-old girl could be listening to that in a ice skating mall. So I tried to pick music that felt right for the scene, but that also is believable for that world.
Vos films, pensez-vous que tous vos films parlent finalement plutôt de jeunes femmes, de femmes trentenaires? Pensez-vous est-ce que c'est de cela dont vous voulez parler, de ce que c'est que d'être une femme aujourd'hui? Est-ce que c'est ça?
Yeah, I think in my work I'm just trying to express my point of view and what I'm interested in, and so I think because it comes from me, there's probably a strong feminine side, and but also when I was growing up when I was a teenager, I remember there weren't very many movies or magazines or things for teenage girls that I could relate to. They were usually pretty dumb, and I love the movies of John Hughes, but other than that, when you saw teenage girls in movies, they were always played by a much older actress, or they just there weren't a lot that I could relate to. So I think I've been interested in trying to show young women in a way that I relate to, and hopefully other girls can too.